Okay guys, I'm here today with Brian Glick, huge honor for me, and Placido. And guys, this week Brian is starting a new series called Simplifying the System. And the first instruction of this series is all about the Sumi Gaeshi, which is like a lot about the butterfly guard. And
exactly,
right,
yes, yeah. So Sumi Gaeshi is the Japanese word, but most people know it as a butterfly sweep, or some people call it the hook sweep.
Yep.
And we do it from standing, we do it from ground. Our focus in this is going to be working on the ground, especially when someone's down on two knees.
No, that's awesome. And can you demonstrate a little bit about it?
Oh yeah, of course. So one of the reasons that we're focusing on Sumi Gaeshi, first of all, it's such a linchpin in the system. Everything that John teaches, you know, it really does center around, especially the work that's on the ground here on the knees. It always focuses on Sumi Gaeshi. It's such a powerful way of off-balancing somebody. And I mean, as you know, because your instructor, you know, Marcelo was one of the best in the world to ever do Sumi Gaeshi on the ground, you know?
Yeah, and I think like no gi, almost like most of the guards ends up becoming Sumi Gaeshi or butterfly, because you know, if the person plays spider guard, he's gonna end up playing butterfly. You know?
Right.
If the player, even if the person plays half guard, as much as you want to play half guard, at some point he's gonna run away from us, and you're gonna need to sit up. And so I think most of the guards for no gi, at some point you have to go through the butterfly and the Sumi Gaeshi. So that's such a great topic.
Yeah. I think it's great, and one of the reasons that it's so important for me is because Sumi Gaeshi is so powerful at just getting somebody out of balance. And you know, with the gi, that's not always too hard a task because you have so many handles. You know, you grab the belt, or you grab the collar, or you grab the sleeves, and you're elevating, lifting people, turning people. It can be difficult, but it's not that difficult. But when we're working without the gi, sometimes that process of getting somebody out of balance, especially if it's someone who's really solid, you know, has a kind of strong wrestling style base with knees wide, and they're bigger than you, stronger than you, sometimes that can be very difficult to do.
Yep.
So the reason that Sumi Gaeshi was so important for me was because when I first learned it, when John first taught it to me, it was one of the first times I really understood the idea of a dilemma. And you know, like now, because of his teaching and you know all the work is a lot about dilemmas. You know, you give the guy or the girl, you give them two bad choices.
Yep.
And Sumi Gaeshi, when I learned it, was if you sweep somebody, then great. Successful sweep, you knock them down, you come up on top. It's kind of a classic reversal. But even when you don't, even when you just knock them out of balance, there's so many other opportunities to attack. You can attack the neck, you can attack the arms, you can attack the legs. And I realized that when I was a student, because as I've told you before, you know, like a lot of people were bigger than me and they were stronger than me, and this is at a time where, you know, I didn't know as much, and I often felt like if I couldn't do a sweep, then it was like a total failure.
Yep.
You know, like you try to do something, it doesn't work, you're so frustrated. But when he taught this, he really taught it in a way where I understood that even if it failed, it still was we could still make it work.
Yep.
And I think that's like something that's really important in jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
Is like just because something doesn't work the way you wanted it to work doesn't mean that it's totally useless.
Yep.
So Sumi Gaeshi is just really has been such an important part of my own like understanding and being able to survive with people. And then it's such a linchpin even now for what he teaches: leg entanglements, upper body ties. Gordon's used shoulder crunch and pinch headlock. All that stuff comes out of Sumi Gaeshi. Yeah.
No, and while you were just talking, I was just thinking about that, because it is true. And when we are in the Sumi Gaeshi or the butterfly or whatever you want to call, you try a hook sweep, the hook sweep fails. There's so many things that happens from their window that you try that and that failed. That it doesn't mean that you fail. Right. You know, you still have so many options to achieve from that situation. That I think you're 100% right.
Yeah, I think it teaches you, it's unique in a way because it teaches you as like a student to think differently about what your job is, you know? And a lot of people, I think they're focusing on, you know, in a lot of classical martial arts, it's like you do this one thing and that's what you're trying to do. And I think for jiu-jitsu, there's so much gray area. It's not black and white. You know, you can get most of the job done and not all of it, and it leaves an opportunity to do something else.
I agree.
So I think that, you know, for me, that was one of the things that was so important. So I'll give you a little example, if I can, with the Sumi Gaeshi here. So a classic version of Sumi Gaeshi is one where, you know, we're in like an over-under tie sort of position. And in the gi, this is relatively easy to get to because, you know, you have collar, you pull, you can get the hand, you can grab the belt, all this stuff. In no gi, it's not quite as easy. So we have to have a way of getting to it. So one of the best ways is we're tying up here with our partner, and we're going to come up to our partner's head. We're going to pull our partner's head down, almost like we're trying to feed their head into a guillotine.
Yep.
And when we do that, we're able to create a little space here under our partner's arm, and then we can take our underhook this way.
Yep.
All right. Now we have an underclass grip. This hand can be here on this shoulder, or it can be down low. A lot of times it's a little easier no-gi to have your hand up high because it's easy for your partner to pull away. You don't have anything to hold on to. And then we focus on what's going on the other side. So just going to gather up his arm at the tricep, draw his arm forward, and now we've got a good position here. When we go to sweep, our objective is to get first our shoulder to the floor, and then of course we have a sticky foot. So we're going to look to put our shoulder on the mat. That's going to move his weight onto his right leg here. And then as his hips rise, I need to have a way of really lifting him and driving him out. Because if we keep our hips down here on the floor and we just try to lift, and you see this a lot of times when people first start doing Sumi Gaeshi, especially no gi, is as I go to lift, he's able to drop this leg in between my legs here, and then he ends up smashing my two knees together. So one of the ways we get around that is by taking our bottom leg, putting our toes on the floor, and bringing our hips up to the same line as our partner's hips. So from the hand up high to the other hand down low, we're going to bring our hips up. Now when Placido goes to walk out to his right side, I can keep tracking him and using my foot to push, and then from here we can pummel and land in the top position. So that's a kind of classic example of Sumi Gaeshi.
And the borrow foot becomes like essential for the.
It's so important, and in the video we spent a lot of time talking about why that leg is important. But there are sometimes the way that I see most people do Sumi Gaeshi looks kind of like they get their grips, but they have both feet on the inside and they try just to lift from here. And as a result, a lot of times their knees get smashed together. If you have a lot of momentum, then you can do it. But if we really pay attention to this bottom foot and we put it on the floor, and this was, again, you know, one of the first things that when John taught me Sumi Gaeshi, it was about taking this foot through and really using it to push off of. So this idea that we can use a drive leg on the bottom and have that transfer energy from the foot to the hip, and now it's your hip moving and lifting. This is the thing that makes it easier to take a bigger person over, and you're less likely to get your knees smashed together.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian, can you show one example from you fail the sweep and you're gonna go to something else?
Yes.
Maybe it could even be the one that we were discussing just right
Sure.
after, just right before, like
Yeah.
to go to all the heel
Coming
hooks
inside.
and
Yeah. Okay. So this is a very nice way of transitioning from a sweep into the legs.
Yep.
Because anytime you try to sweep your partner and you feel like they're basing out their legs and they're widening their legs, it's a good time to start to attack. Okay. So here we're in the over-under position. We're going to start to tilt and we begin to lift, and we see that our partner brings their hips up.
Yep.
Now this is a problem. If we stay down here on our hips with our partner's weight above us, it's very easy to get smashed. So as soon as we feel that our Sumi Gaeshi has failed in this way, we take our right hand through and we're going to put a frame here across our partner's body. Okay, so this kind of cross shoulder post. This is so he doesn't drop his chest onto my chest and start to smash. This second arm is going to come in tight to our body, and then we're going to take this bottom leg and we're just going to put our toes on the mat. Out of here, we just continue the lifting action. So we're going to push and we're going to lift our hips up high. Now, we could come and begin to attack our partner's leg, but there's a problem here. If I just throw my legs here and begin to collect his leg, it's very easy for him to drop his hips down on top. And this is not the end of the world, but it's pretty bad. So as a result, instead of just locking here, we take our bottom arm and we spin our body through so that our hips start to face towards our partner's head.
Got it.
Now, once Placido goes to put his weight down on me, it's much more difficult. I can use my two knees now, extend him out in this direction, and now here we are ready to entangle our partner's legs. So if we do it at a little bit of a quicker pace, we come through, we start the action of Sumi Gaeshi, we create the frame and bring our hips up. Now from here we can lock the triangle, settle our partner down, and as we were talking about, you have all sorts of different options. From here we can come back and attack our partner's leg right away. If we have the second leg, sometimes we can even heist, come up, split our partner's legs, and now come through and attack on the opposite side. So, you know, like we were talking before, and I think that one thing that's very intimidating for people when they're looking at leg locks is how do I invert? You know, it's hard. And I think it is hard to do if you're starting from zero.
Yeah.
But if you're able to have a technique like Sumi Gaeshi, where you're creating some momentum,
I agree.
then it becomes a little bit easier.
Yeah, no, I agree. And for example, what you were doing is very similar to the tornado.
Yes.
But for example, the tornado seems way harder for me because you kind of start from the Z-guard or knee shields or whatever you want to call, and then you almost have to do like a full circle in order to get there. Versus the Sumi Gaeshi, your body is already going on that direction, and you're already going over here, and then you just have to. That's incredible. No, that's great, and that's one of the best Gordon's moves, right? Like
he loves this, and I think that, you know, one of the great things about watching Gordon, I mean, there are a lot of great things, but he's able to fold his body, even as a bigger, stronger guy, with bigger, stronger guys, into positions where he's underneath and not having to carry quite as much weight as you might otherwise think. And I think that he uses Sumi Gaeshi all the time, but it's one of the reasons that he's successful, I think, is because when you start with an initial sweep and this initial off balance, you start to get all sorts of reactions. The guy's putting the legs out, putting the arms out. If he puts the legs out, he's vulnerable to leg entries. If he puts the arms out, you have shoulder crunch and pinch headlock. So you have this whole matrix of attacks that end up coming out of something very simple and something that, you know, a lot of times, like we learn this, you know, first 6 months of jiu-jitsu, get the guy, hook sweep, lift him and take him over. With just a little bit of adjustment, a few more details, you can start to really
that's awesome. Yeah, and while you were talking, I was just thinking, like, and it's very interesting that this is like one of the favorites moves from Gordon, and then you, who has a completely different like body type, age, weight, and you still one of her favorites too. So you can see that works like on a broader range.
I think that's a testament to John's ability to really narrow down and figure out like what are the most important things.
Moves. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so guys, Brian started this new series called the Simplified System, or
Simplifying the System.
Yeah, and the first instructional is all about Sumi Gaeshi, which is, some people call like butterfly guard or hook sweeps or whatever you want to call. And it's going to be at IBJJFanatics.com very soon. Maybe by the time you're watching, it's already there. So make sure to check that out. And thanks so much, Brian.
It's always a pleasure. Thanks, Bernardo. Great to see you.
Please help me out to grow my YouTube channel. Just click subscribe. And to watch more videos, just click under see more videos. I hope you enjoyed.
IBJJFanatics.com. Use the promo code YouTubeFaria to get 10% off any instructional video. Improve your jiu-jitsu faster.